Hello, can everyone hear me? Hi, evening. Um, Hi, good evening, and welcome everyone to Voices from the Wind River. Oh my God, there are people up there too. Hi. My name is Adil Darvesh. I am the communications manager with CPAWS Yukon. Some of you might recognize me if you subscribe to our mostly monthly newsletter, um, or if you interact with us on social media. Sometimes that's me. But tonight, however, I will be doing my best to keep the evening moving smoothly. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm really glad that we're at this awesome venue at the Yukon Arts Center on the traditional territories of the Kwanlin Dun First Nation and the Ton Quechan Council. Um, as a settler-founded organization, we at CPAWS Yukon feel really strongly that it's important to recognize and acknowledge the troubled history that conservation organizations have had with First Nations and Métis and Inuit peoples. A lot of our work and a lot of the systems and processes that we are forced to work within are were from European colonization that was forcibly imposed on us in Canada. And so I think it's important for us to recognize that and endeavor to do better. And our hope is that by providing a platform to raise Yukon First Nations voices, to listen, to learn, and to support them in their conservation and stewardship goals, that we can work towards reconciling that past towards a stronger future. And we're really lucky this evening that we have Chief Sean Smith of the Kwanlin Dun First Nation, who would like to welcome on to give us some opening remarks.
There's a spotlight. I think it should be right here. Nklej jada khel shonenich ani dezrawada shoitli. I shared in the language of the Southern Shoni. I feel good about everyone gathering here tonight. And ING Uyanasachi Uye Kuchanke Sean Smith Uye Aguni each Kwanan Kwachan each Kwanan dan de each shun. So I share my traditional name of Uyanasachi. It's a Northern Shoshone name, and it's one that my grandmother gave it to me. And I'm the Wolf Clan. I'm from Kwanlin, this beautiful place that we gather on. And I'm the chief of Kwanlin First Nation, the person who speaks for the people. And it's been my honor to welcome you here tonight in this the showing of this film. So on behalf of Kwanlin First Nation Council, I would like to welcome you to our traditional territory, which we have shared for thousands of years with the Ton Quechan people. This evening, we will experience the Wind River through the eyes of a group of Indigenous youth who spent 16 days and nights paddling down it. The Wind River is one of the beautiful rivers of 6 that flows into the Peel River. The watershed region is home to 4 First Nations who have sustained for millennia by the rich and diverse wildlife that make their home in the area. As the world continues to face shocking disruptions caused by climate change, areas of high biodiversity will become critical to habitats. These areas, like the Peel Watershed, could really become a refuge for species that are threatened by the impacts of global warming and change across our planet. So I'm grateful for the hard work taken on by the Na-Cho First Nation, the Tronda Quechan First Nation, the Gwich'in Tribal Council, the Yukon Conservation Society, and the Yukon chapter of the Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society, CPAWS, to protect the region from development. By taking the Yukon government to court, they carried forward the work of our ancestors, those before us, who spent decades fighting for the rights of Yukon First Nations people and those from the land that carries the habitats of the many animals, diverse animals, as well as fish and birds. When the Supreme Court of Canada decided that the Yukon government did not have the authority to move forward on its unilateral plans for the Peel watershed, they solidified the rights of Yukon First Nations as they are spelled out in the Umbrella Final Agreement and the individual final agreements of the First Nations. That means that Yukon First Nations like Kwalindun, Taonquechin, Kargosh, Tagish can move forward confidently on land use planning in our traditional territories of the southern Yukon here. Like our ancestors, we are looking ahead and doing our best to create a path forward for generations to come. We are building up our young people. We are helping them learn and engage in a real and authentic way. And I am very grateful for CPAWS and the organization Yukon First Nation Education Directorate, who are supporting opportunities for youth to get on the land. With that in mind, I hope all of you will have a look and make bids on the CPAWS online auction. Money made from there will support more trips in the future with our youth and with the land and with the water. And yeah, just a personal note is that, you know, it was some of those opportunities as a young guy, from my support of my parents. It was to go out on the land with my late grandparents. And it's those memories that I have from when I was 3, 4 years old. I still have those. And those really, really connect me to who I am, where I'm from, and to the things that we need to do in terms of this generation, and, you know, passing this knowledge on to our children and grandchildren into the future. And it's a true honor to be part of this and connect with the many young people in our communities across Yukon, as well as all the wonderful teachers and folks, elders from our communities who have really contributed to this richness of what we have here in the Yukon, and it's very special. So, on that, Gnishtish Daga Shonithan Masicho.
Thank you, Chief Smith. We're also really lucky this evening to have Ann Smith, who is a Kwalindun First Nation elder and knowledge holder, and Chief Smith's mom. And she's going to welcome us all with an opening prayer.
I won't ask anybody to stand because, you know, I don't want anybody falling over. But I will do a prayer tonight, and this is what I do for my community. I pray to the Great Spirit. I pray to our grandfather. I pray to our grandmother. I pray to the 4 sacred directions so that our prayers will be heard as we are small and humble. Great Spirit, I ask you to look after my people in a good way, no matter where they come from. I pray, Creator, that you will help our children for their survival, so that they will live a good life and that they will be happy in this lifetime, in their lifetime. I pray, Creator, that you will watch over our land, because our land is beautiful. I pray, Great Spirit, that you will watch over the animals. They need to live just like us. I pray, Great Spirit, that you will watch over our water, because we need to make sure that all the animals that's in the water, that they need to live also. I thank you, Great Spirit, for the beautiful gifts that you have given to us. I pray that we will learn how to cherish and to look after everything that we need in life. Look after our mountains, our beautiful stream, our home, our land, the rivers. I pray, Creator, that if anything happens, I pray that we will be able to fix it up, to look after it in a good way, to be able to turn that around so that our children will have this to live on and to go hunting, to go on the land, to be able to get their food that they need for the winter and to keep us healthy. I thank you, Great Spirit, for this day, as every day is beautiful. I thank you, Creator, for all the gifts that you have given to us and our children. I pray, Creator, that our children will have the voice that they need in the future so that they will live healthy and have a good life. I thank you, Great Spirit, for this day. I thank you, Grandfather. I thank you, Grandmother. Kunishchis masicho shonithan he mankwich. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Oh, I'm so excited. This Wind River trip, can you guys, is that okay? This Wind River trip, there's so many stories to share. And so I'm going to give you a quick rundown of this evening. We're going to have a short film by Bethany Paquette. We're going to have the trip participants come out and share some more stories. We're going to have a little panel where they're going to talk a little bit about their journey. There's going to be a really brief intermission so you can get up and stretch your legs and maybe get a couple snacks. Maybe check out some of the info tables out in the lobby if you haven't had a chance to do that yet. This is also a fundraiser for CPAWS Yukon so that we can keep doing trips and projects like this. So if you are so inclined, I'd encourage you to check out some of those auction items out in the lobby as well. After intermission, I'm so excited. We have two musical guests for you guys. Keitha, Graeme, Poile will be joining us, and then also Remmi Elin will be performing. So I'm super stoked for that. But yeah, the Wind River trip was such a exciting and rewarding experience, and I want to acknowledge some of the people who helped get it off the ground. Literally, like they flew in to McCluskey Lake about a couple hours right before Mayo had to evacuate due to a wildfire. So it was like pretty tight, and a lot of people put a lot of work in. And it was the First Nation of Na-Cho done, the Yukon First Nation Education Directorate, and CPAWS Yukon. And joining us this evening is Chief Donna Hope from the First Nation of Na-Cho done, that I'd like to welcome on stage to say a few words.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. There we go. Wow, it's great to see everybody out here tonight. I was asked to come up and talk about the importance of these experiences and these journeys for the youth. But I think that the greater experience is that each of us live our individual lives, and what people get and take back within themselves is what's important to us, because when the youth go out and they make the connections to the land, they come back and their understanding of the importance of the principles of water and land and have a connection to it. And that's what's important to us, is they come back and they be defenders of that. And you'll hear the youth talk about that tonight. Ultimately, they're now defenders because they've made a connection to the land and to the water. The First Nation of Na-Cho Nyäk Dun's traditional territory covers 162,456 square kilometers of land. 131,599 square kilometers is in the Yukon, and 30,857 kilometers squared is extended into the Northwest Territories. Historically, the First Nation of Na-Cho Nyäk Dun lived and trapped throughout that entire area. In the spirit and intent, our ancestors felt that we would be working together, collaboratively, in cooperation, to seek agreement in the best ways possible moving forward for everyone, with everyone's aspects being considered for generations to come. In other words, we're supposed to take care of the lands and the waters forever. Water has always been a keystone topic for the Na-Cho Nyäk Dun citizens, as it directly influences the lives of the people who use the land. Our elders repeatedly tell us that water is life, for which every living thing depends on. Without it, we are dust. Water impacts everything. It impacts how animals behave like they used to in the old days. The timing is becoming unpredictable. Rivers don't freeze up, and it affects the time that we spend out on the land trapping and harvesting. Wetlands are drying up. Melts happen more rapidly. Erosions impact freshet. They're exponentially increasing, causing flooding. Weather and patterns are changing, and everything's becoming more unpredictable. Summers are drier with more forest fire events, and that's just to name a few of the changes. As stewards of the land, protecting the water was so important that water was dedicated its own chapter in our final agreement, with one of its key objectives to maintain the water of the Yukon in a natural condition while providing for the sustainable use. The Na-Cho Nyäk then knows that this is not a simple task, because our ancestors have always known water is special and it needs to be treated special. It holds secrets of the past, present, and future. Water carries our stories passed down from generations to generations by our ancestors. Water even holds its own DNA. You can actually identify where water comes from by that DNA. Did you know that water is the only element that exists in all states of matter? Liquid, solid, and gas. Our ancestors knew that we would always need to be able to protect our land, water, and our wildlife all together in order to protect our way of life. The essence of who we are and what makes us First Nation people are clearly demonstrated by our ongoing relationship to the land, water, fish, and wildlife. And we must always be free to live off the land to maintain those relationships. Our old people say, if we take care of the land and the water and the water will take care of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief Hope. I think about that a lot, of just like taking care of the land and water and having it take care of us. I think that's, yeah, something that kind of carries with me a lot as well. Next up, I'd like to introduce from the Yukon First Nation Education Directorate, who've played such a huge role in both from their wellness team, from their organizational team, from their kitchen staff, They really support these trips really strongly. So I'd like to welcome up Bill Bennett, who is the manager of the Mobile Therapeutic Unit and the team lead of the Allied Health and Wellness team.
Thank you, Chief Hope. That was an amazing speech. I don't know if I can really follow that one, but I was told by an elder that if you have to do a speech in front of people, the easiest ways to do it are, first of all, you acknowledge an elder, and then you could tell a story. So, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge Annie Smith, who did our prayer, and it was a beautiful prayer, and it set the tone for this gala tonight. And then I would like to acknowledge a friend of my family's from Na-Cho Nyäk is Christine Hager, who's been a friend of mine and a friend of growing up with her children, and as a part of her community, and her husband, her late husband, Robert. I am the manager of the Mobile Therapeutic Unit, and my story is, as a 13-year-old boy, I had the opportunity to travel to the Peel River and on the wind with my dad, and two First Nation younger men then. They both have passed. One is Dinky Mervyn, and the other one was Harry McGinty. And we were out there, I don't really want to say this, but we were prospecting, and it was in the early 70s, but it was just I remember seeing the scenes and the land, and that was a memory that stayed with me and always will. So the picturesque and for what these youth have seen was truly amazing. I get to speak to you tonight. I was told that I could speak for 47 minutes, and I guess I must have heard him wrong. I think it was from 4 to 7 minutes. So I better get on this. I'm thanking everybody for the opportunity to be here, especially my friends from Mayo. We grew up as children and together, and I've known many of you. And I'm just grateful to see you all here tonight as well. YFNED needs to hold up and acknowledge Chief Mervyn, former Chief Mervyn, because he was an integral part of creating the Yukon First Nation Education Directorate, because he reformed the Chiefs Committee on Education, and he was a strong voice for our organization until he wasn't the chief. And he always wanted to, his goal was to get the youth back on the land. When we talked, I've known Simon since I was 10 years old, but he wanted to get the youth back on the land, and he said, I always want to do a trip with them, and I hope he gets to. Our organization started working with youth from Na-Cho Nyäk First Nation right at the end of COVID, and we had a team that went into Mayo and did some work and worked with the youth, mostly through art projects, bike maintenance, just trying to get the youth interested in doing things and being part of something and promoting a healthy life and healthy relationships. And the staff found by building those relationships, they ventured into river trips, right? And then they went through the collaboration of the First Nation of Na-Cho Nyäk, of course, CPAWS, and our organizations. We collaborated on 3 river trips. In 21, we did the Beaver River. And in 22, they did the Mayo to Moosehide. I think they dragged Jim Boyd out of retirement for that one. I think they dragged him out of late retirement. I'm not too sure if I could get him to do another one, but I know that he's in the audience tonight, and he's a good friend. And he's a wealth of knowledge on any Yukon river. So I hold Jim very high, and so does my staff. The latest one was the Wind River in 23, and it was exciting. The staff say that a total of 10 youth participated. One young man, Lucien Trudeau, has enjoyed the experience of all 3 trips. And so I hold up Lucien, and we just need to say that. Lucien, you're going to do great things, and the staff here believe in you, and they really want you. And since then, he's come to work for us, done some contract work with our team, and he's a fine young man. On these trips, both the staff and youth learned about the First Nation Na-Cho Nyäk Dun traditional territory and heritage by visiting the cultural and family sites that their ancestors traveled. On the last 2 trips, we had Laurent Turgeon and Chantal Blysac. They are both mental health workers, counselors. Chantal's cultural roots lie deep in Mayo. She is Na-Cho Nyäk Dun citizen. I've known her mom. I know her mom's in the audience tonight. And a shout out to her mom becoming a grandma. So there you go. Yeah, that's a good thing. And yeah, so a lot of the people here I'm very familiar with as a youth. I know that Laurent has spent some time in Mayo, I'm not quite sure, but I know it's been probably over 5 years as far as I know, but he's a community counselor and he helped a lot of families out, and I know that he's very well respected. Chantal said to me after the Moose Hide trip in 22 that this was the most amazing experience that she had to connect with youth in a counseling way and both a traditional cultural way. And she said she would love to do it again. So I think she did the Beaver trip. I can't believe I dropped my glasses, and I can't believe I'm reading without my glasses. So I'll keep going. One of the strong missions of YFNED is to bring the youth back to the land, to support the youth's emotional and social growth. These river trips promote that. These journeys are more than just adventures. They were the changing experiences, changing life experience that promoted wellness and importance of connecting youth to the land. The collaboration of YFNED, CPAWS, and Na-Cho Nyäk Dun First Nation was an integral part to the success of each trip. I remember watching a video of, I think it was the families lining up in Mayo with their drums and beating their drums as the youth got off the Stewart River and walked up the banks. And the emotion and the pride that I saw that day is just heartwarming. And those are the things that we need to do to keep our youth well. They were acknowledged, valued, and really appreciated. I need to acknowledge a few people. I need to acknowledge Barb Bike, who also is an elder now, I know, but we grew up in school together, but she's part of CPAWS, and I spoke to her today about another educational matter, and she says she's so happy because it helps. She's so involved in healing the land and healing the youth, and I think those are really important words. Her brother, Stephen Bike, who's a land steward, works there, knowing him for 50 years as well. So it's just to know these people are there as stewards for the people are really a positive thing. I need to acknowledge Jonah Barr, who's our staff member from YFNED, our team lead, who's been in Mayo for over like 4 years now, almost 4 years, and going back and forth and spending time with youth and building skills and involving in the canoe trip and being part of the community. Ashwin Frayne, who has a lot of experience on the water and has been a support to the youth in Mayo as well. Tanner Coyne, I believe, was on the first trip, and He's since left us and moved to Vancouver. And my friend Teresa Sampson, they say she's been an advocate for Mayo and for the youth. Lauren Baranek and Jody. Now, Jody's last name is really hard to spell, but it's Jody from CPAWS. I think it's like, you could say it like Jody overdoing, so it's Jody. But we just need to hold Jody up really high. So on behalf of YFNED, our mandate is to support the youth. Our mandate is to support children on an allied health side, to support students, clients who need support, either cognitively, emotionally, physically. But on the wellness side, to give youth the experiences that we can, create positive people and healthy people. So I hold my head to this organization. I'm so excited to see the Voices from the Wind River. And I'm thankful, very great, YFNE is very grateful to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Last one from CPAWS Yukon, another one of the main organizers of the Wind River trip. I'd like to introduce our executive director, Clarke.
Thank you, Adil. Also, thank you, Chief Smith, Elder Ann Smith, Chief Hope, and Bill Bennett. Good evening, and thank you all for coming tonight. My name's Chris Pinkerton. I've been the Executive Director at CPAWS Yukon for almost 2 years now. And for those of you who don't know us as an organization, I hope tonight helps you learn a little bit more about who we are and how we work. We care deeply about the land that we live on. We work with respect and gratitude with the nations who have guarded and stewarded this land and waters that we all rely and depend on for generations. We strive to bring people together, to find common ground so that we can collectively heal our colonialized past. We're excited tonight to bring you with us into the Peel Watershed, a place that I'm sure many of you in this room have been impacted by in some way. Perhaps you've had the opportunity to travel there yourself. You might be hoping to sometime in the future soon. Or perhaps you've just seen the wisdom of protecting an area like this, and you've added your voice alongside thousands of others to see it happen. The fight to protect the Peel was common ground that brought us all together. It showed us how relationships and our shared responsibility to the land and the water, and even to each other, helped eventually see the Peel protected. And as humanity, continue to deal with the double crisis of biodiversity loss and climate change, it's important that we keep finding that common ground so that we can make a meaningful impact. Organizing trips like these is one of the ways that we've been able to do that. They've been possible with a combination of leadership and support from the First Nation of Na-Cho, Nyäk, the Yukon First Nation Education Directorate, and in the case of these youth trips, I'd really like to also acknowledge the expertise and the dedication of the YFNED Wellness team, who've consistently shown up for the youth and supported the experience of being on a remote trip and the challenges that may arise in that journey. At CPAWS, we've been organizing and guiding these trips to different areas across the Yukon for decades. We always include citizens, sometimes land guardians or other staff from the nations on whose land we travel, but we also like to include artists, filmmakers, journalists, researchers, funders, politicians, and other local supporters. And we recognize that this is an important way for us to connect to the land. Apologies. And we're continuing to organize and support trips like these because they help us tell a story. And they really help us all connect to this amazing place that we call home and that we live in. I hope the film tonight helps you remember, helps inspire you as to what brought us all together as Yukoners to protect the Peel. Thank you, and I hope you have a great evening.
Okay. I just want to quickly also mention that we do have a live stream, so I just want to say welcome and hello to everybody in Mayo or any of the other communities that are also joining us this evening. Okay, so right before we start the film, I just want to share with you how we got here. I started at CPAWS in April 2018, which is about 6.5 years ago, and we were on the heels of a really important and significant victory at the Supreme Court of Canada, where the court ruled at the time, the government at the time didn't act according to umbrella final agreements and sent us back to public consultations on the Peel Watershed recommended plan. And so I'm kind of new to CPAWS, and I'm trying to kind of catch up on the campaign and learn a little bit about the court case. And I come across something that sounds really cool. So I'm curious to all of you in the audience, just by a show of hands, how many people here have heard of the Three Rivers Journey? Okay, a good amount of people, maybe about a quarter to half. Nice. So for those of you who don't know about the journey, like I did at the time, like I didn't know at the time, it was this ambitious project as a way to kind of connect people to nature. It was 3 simultaneous river trips down the Snake, the Wind, and the Bonnet Plume rivers in the Peel Watershed. And it took, along with citizens from the Yukon and North Territories, it took journalists and artists and photographers and videographers and storytellers. And that's kind of a really big influence, I think, for me as I learned more about the campaign, to see those images and hear those stories, to really connect. And for us, having organized a lot of these trips over the last few years, I can only imagine 3 simultaneous trips being a logistical nightmare. But well worth the effort, I think, in how it connected people so well. So a lot of work has to go into these trips, and I'm so excited that we get to share all this work with you here tonight. So sit back, enjoy Connections. Decades ago, First Nations in northern Yukon and the Northwest Territories came together with a vision for their homelands, a vast and thriving area that is currently known as the Peel Watershed. This vision was born from a place of responsibility and care. The wisdom and foresight of the nations and the unity that grew from that were what successfully defended the Peel along with modern treaties and democracy. In 2019, a land use plan was finally signed, which protected more than 80% of the watershed. It reflected the vision brought forward by those nations decades before, as well as the swell of support for the area to remain respected and intact. 4 years after, a group of youth traveled for over 2 weeks together down the Wind River in the Peel Watershed. As those youth spent time living and walking in the same places as their ancestors, they continue to bring that vision to life. This is their story on the Wind River.
Being on this river really means having opportunity for everyone to have different levels of connection and feel connected again. Especially feel connected to some of the history of this place, to the Wind River, to the Peel Watershed, and how it was used historically by First Nation people in this region. And also for people to feel connected to themselves, to be able to look inward, to work through some things while they're out here on the land for over 2 weeks, and to feel connected to each other. And then a little bit of connection to the a future of this place, that it can stay protected and we can continue to have a positive relationship with this land.
The fact that we have these opportunities to get youth out, just to experience the land and to see what goes into these kind of trips, I think is already like a great way to get citizens out and experiencing the land before it changes and while it's changing.
I just really hope to see more of these trips happening, both on the larger scale, like this Wind River trip, but also just on the smaller scale. Because I really do see the positive impact for the youth themselves and for the community.
I think it's really great to have our youth go and experience what our ancestors once walked and lived, and to feel that connection between humans and the ground and the earth and the water. That connection has been lost. Rebuilding that connection is reconciliation.
This is my 8th river trip. This is my 4th lawn one, and it'll be the 3rd one that I've sterned the whole thing. This is definitely a big step up from the Stewart and the Pelly River, just because those are big, slow-moving rivers, but this one's more narrow, tight corners, lots of sweepers and big boulders.
I'm just so happy for our young people to learn what is on the land. It's life-changing, very big, life-changing.
Getting to see it firsthand is really, it puts the stories that I hear from elders into perspective, and really just like the true abundance that the land has, the berries and everything.
I've seen the impacts it has when you get to connect with youth in an open space on the land and in non-concrete ways. There were some really special moments that I didn't necessarily expect.
Getting to watch them work through challenges and grow and learn skills and come back a little bit more confident, a little bit more sure of themselves and proud, feel proud of what they've just accomplished in relation to the land.
How much like crowberries in like one little patch, I think that's just something I haven't seen, like such abundance the land has, and like being able to see medicinal trees like the tamarack tree in person that I've only heard in stories and learned about, like how sacred they are and the medicinal values. Pulling over and then being like seeing a big, huge, like fluffy tree just standing there. It's like one of my favorite parts is the nature of it.
It's no small feat to get a trip like this together. You know, a lot of us have bags under our eyes right now from getting it all organized, not just people on the trip, but people back at the First Nation and CPAWS and YFNED. But the impact that this can have, I know is quite huge, and I've seen it before, and I just think anything we can do to support that is more important than anything. You know, these youth are the future, and this place is really important, and this place is really powerful. So I think it's both an honor, and I feel like if you have an opportunity to help, you have almost more than an opportunity, it's a responsibility.
In this time of global crises, where the impacts of climate change and biodiversity loss are all around us. We all benefit from the intimate relationship and deep knowledge that Indigenous peoples have with their homelands. Standing up together to uphold Indigenous rights and responsibilities is the path forward for all of us and our future generations. As land planning continues in other parts of the First Nation of Na-Cho Nyäk's traditional territory, your voice and vision for the future are needed.
Oh man. So that was Connections. I remember, so when I first watched the draft, I was like sitting at my office desk, like with my laptop open and my headphones in, and I saw that clip of like that fish kissing the camera underwater, and I just like burst out laughing. I think that's my favorite shot in the whole film. There are so many aspects of this trip that are really hard to encapsulate in a movie or in a film. You saw like glimpses of like inclement weather, but the group was also dealing with wildfire challenges and the personal challenges and personal growth you go through on these trips. So we're really excited because we have most of the trip participants here in the audience this evening. So I'm gonna call you guys all up and we're gonna share some more stories with everyone here. So if you were on the trip and you're sitting in the audience, come on up now, please. Thanks. Yeah, come on out.
Shalea, come on up.
Cool, thanks. I feel awkward standing, so I'm gonna grab a seat. Okay, cool. So I just wanna, oh yeah, can I sit next to you, Joel? Thanks. Thank you all for joining us. This is mostly everybody on the trip, minus maybe a few people. I just wanna let you guys know that you can share as you want. If you just wanna sit and stare back at the audience as at you, that's okay. There's here we go. There's only one question that you have to answer, and that's the first question I'm going to ask all of you, and it's to introduce yourselves. It's going to be introduce your name, your role, and why you joined on this trip. So maybe we can start with you, Joe T, and to just grab a mic and just let people know who you are.
Good evening. My name's Joe T, with a T. And my last name is Overdoin, and I have been accused of overdoing it. So thank you for that, Bill. Now, everyone in this audience knows that joke. And I work at CPAWS Yukon. I have been there since 2011, minus a bit of time off when I had my son. And so when I started, the focus was all about the Peel and protect the Peel. So that's really shaped a lot of my time here in the Yukon. I've been here since 2009. I'm a grateful settler, living and working and loving this place. Living in the territories I live and work on are Tonquachon Council and Kwanlin Dun First Nation. And I was a trip organizer and a guide, and that was all your questions, right? Yeah, sweet.
Let's see. Danki Netsania Uji, Kachanki Kadrian Hamo. My name is Kadrian Hamo. My traditional name is Netsania. I come from the traditional territory of the First Nation of Na-Cho, Nyäk. I grew up in Mayo. I joined this trip, I guess I'll get into it more later, but this trip from on the Wind River was like a full circle kind of experience. But I joined CPAWS on the first Beaver River trip in 2019 as a youth, and then kept going on more trips. And on this trip, I was a youth mentor, helping and supporting with the other youth. Merci.
My name is Beth. I did all the filming for this trip with a bit of help from others who also gave me some of their footage. I got on this trip, I guess, for a couple of reasons. One was for the filming. The other was I have a fairly extensive background in guiding, and so I got brought on to help guide a boat as well down the river. I've been up here for 9 years, and I would say that doing this trip with CPAWS kind of helped push my filming career forward quite a bit.
Oh my. Doing it. I am. Well, I'm Shalea. I would say I'm a bit shaky right now, but can't blame myself. Look at all these eyes. Reason why I came on this trip is Jonah. He called me and he was like, Shalea, you gotta come on this trip. Come on. I'm like, I don't know. There's hand games going on this weekend. And I think I really want to go to that. And he's like, no, this is a trip of a lifetime. You gotta come. I'm like, oh, dang. Okay. Tell me more. And I'm like, what is it? What does it look like? What's it going to be like? And he's like, man, you're just going to have to see for yourself, man. And I guess I did. So here I am. Honestly, I didn't think the trip was that big, but I guess it was. I'd really like to go back on the Wind River. I really miss it. It was so beautiful. I learned how to draw mountains. Really, really good. It's so easy. I just looked at the mountains and I was like drawing it down. I don't know what else to say. I went on the trip. Here I am. Hello. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great job, Shalea. Whoop, whoop. I'm Jonah. I work for YFNED, and this was my third trip with You, well, no, our second, Kadrian, but I want a second with Joe T. Yeah, and, well, Adil, you weren't on this trip, but Lucian, we've been on trips before. And Ashwin, too. But anyways, yeah, I'll pass it on to Ashwin.
Hi, my name's Ashwin. I came on this trip to help out and do some of the guiding and logistics, and I knew a bunch of the as well. And I was also kind of working as like a background actor in the film. So.
Hello, my name is Chantal Blazak. I'm a member of the First Nation of Na-Cho, Nyäk, also belong to Wolf Clan, grandchild to Irene and Mo Melanson. Originally from Mayo, but raised in Whitehorse with my family. First got involved with the river business when Jonah asked me to come from Mayo to Moosehide, and sorry, nervous. And that was really neat. He had asked, I think because they were working with Na-Cho, Nyäk, if I'd come, but also just as a counselor, and I'm so glad I said yes, because that opened up doors for the Wind River trip, which was a trip of a lifetime. More to say later.
My name's Lucien Trudeau. I was a youth participant, and I also joined because of Jonah.
Sounds like this is all Jonah's fault. My name's Joel, and I'm on the CPAWS board, and I've been a guide for a number of years, so Jody just asked me if I'd come along as a experienced paddler, safety person, trip support, I guess is the official title. And I'd done the river before, so I knew a bit about it.
Well, thank you all for introducing yourselves. I think you guys can get a sense of what the trip was like with this crew of people and the chemistry, so that's really nice to hear. I think it would be really cool to maybe like share kind of maybe if you have a highlight or like what was like the best moment. Like everyone got to see sort of a small glimpse, but I'm wondering, was there anything else that really stood out to you that you think was like really cool to share, or a moment or something you saw or anything like that that really sticks out for you? A lot of you said like it was a trip of a lifetime, but like any highlights? Like take me there.
The first thing that comes to mind is Laurent, who is not here right now, brought face tattoos. So we all got face tattoos one day. That was cool.
I will say, I remember when I came to Mayo to like come help you guys pack, I was like, you guys are kind of dirty. What's going on? But it was just like face tattoos. It looked like you guys had like muck on you. That was kind of funny. Any other highlights? Yeah, go for it.
I think for me, one thing that was cool is you saw like the trip had so many highlights in terms of how beautiful it was, and also how difficult it was with all the rain and the fires and the paddling. And 16 days it's actually longer than it sounds. And on the first day, we all got Otis Spunkmeyer muffins at the store in Mayo, and Shalea managed to hold on to her Otis Spunkmeyer for the whole trip, which to me was just like quite incredible. We had it on the last day, I think, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Geez, I think I just lost it. Sweet. Well, I have many highlights on this trip. Many, many, many. I think my first one would be when we stayed at this one campsite, and it was all smoky. Couldn't see anything except for the water and where you were. We went to sleep, and then in the morning we were like, "Get up, everybody!" And so I got up, and I looked outside my tent to get nice, good, fresh air. And when I stuck my head out the tent, You could see everything. It went from really smoky to being able to see everything. It was a really sunny morning, nice crisp morning air. Oh, it was nice. You could see all the mountains, all the braidings of the river and all that. And man, I was so amazed. I'm like, wow, I finally get to see all this. And man, that's one of my highlights. If there's more to share.
One that I can remember is we knew, I've spoken with Na-Cho Elder Jimmy Johnny about the Wind River, and Jimmy told us that there are stone axe stumps along at certain sites, and so we knew, and we were hiking, and we were hoping that we were exploring and hoping that we'd find some, and it was beautiful. We were enjoying being out there, and and I remember the moment where we saw what we thought was a stump that had been cut down with a stone axe, and then realizing, okay, yeah, I think this is. And then after we saw that one, then we started seeing more and more, and then that site just transformed. We saw, okay, look, this is more open here, and just, yeah, it just became real. It just, yeah, you could feel the people that have been in that place, and it was incredibly exciting. And we would just go from one stump to the next and taking photos, and yeah, that was just a really, really exciting moment.
We also, shortly after we saw that, we watched a grizzly bear family just bathing. It was a really hot day that day, and they were like playing around in the stream and eating bear roots and eating while they're still in the stream. And we were safe enough, or like at a safe distance, to just sit and eat some berries, watch them from afar, have a break. Yeah, there's so many special moments on trips, and this being my third trip with CPAWS, I always learn something new every single time, whether it's from the guides or the people that I get to go with, and from the youth, and especially like big growth moments for myself. I get pretty grumpy when I don't eat enough or get enough sleep, and that's just common, and like how to deal with that. But as I was saying, the Peel, Protect the Peel and the Wind River trip has been full circle for me. I kind of got a glimpse into what it looks like for a community to all come together and really, fight. And not only my community of the First Nation of Na-Cho and Nyäk, but the whole community of the Yukon, and being able to step up for, to protect things that are so important to us, our clean water and our like untouched environment. There was, proposed pipelines that were going to go into the Peel Watershed in the 80s, and I was able to read some of the archives from what that looked like, and we canoed back past coals that were still burning, and they've been burning for 15 years since they were, I'm not sure if they were accidentally ignited or if they were exploring, and winter roads that still have a scar along the shorelines. And yeah, I was reminded of a joke that I was saying to my partner when we were down in Vancouver for a week. We were like, we sure missed that village water, the McIntyre subdivision, the tap water, just not having, taking for granted what we have at home and the access to such clean water. And for most of the trip, I think Jonah was drinking straight from the river, and I was still kind of hesitant. Like, I would use my filter bag, but eventually I joined the club, and all was good. I was fine. But yeah, it going on trips and seeing the impacts and seeing the land. This is a river that my ancestors traveled, and I know that they lived in this area and traveled back and forth to the Northwest Territories since the early 1800s, and that's only recorded history. And so to be out there on the land and to see this untouched wilderness, and to see really what's at stake when we put exploration into the picture, and the possibility of that being taken away, it gave me that encouragement to be able to speak up for my First Nation and show up more at tables and keep on doing the fight. Yeah.
I think a highlight for me, there's so many, like Shalaya said, it's really hard to pick. So you just get these flashes of really beautiful memories. But one of my highlights, I think, was we were on the Peel. We had come from the Wind to the Peel, and we were in the canyon, maybe day 14. You guys remember that one? And I think we had a super long day of paddling. I don't think it was a crazy short day, but I just remember I felt like we had adapted so much as a group. There was like a calmness. We all knew our role. We were all helping, and everyone just seemed really relaxed. And it was a beautiful spot, but we had more impressive, beautiful spots than that. But what I remember about it was just sort of everyone's relaxed nature about it, and dinner and putting away the dishes and cleaning up, and then half the crew went across the river and hiked up to a little spot when the sun was going down, and half stayed, and we could hear them singing and belting out a song across the river. And then when they came back, we all kind of chilled out, and a bunch of us women washed up with, shout out to Joella, gave us our Wind River soap. Make sure you buy Wind River soap, it smells so good. It actually reminds me so much of the trip every time I use it, because we used it for everything. And I think I snuck away and did a bit of that audio clip when they were hiking with Beth, and I could just feel like the difference from the beginning of the trip. It was so taxing to do all of this stuff in such long days. You're so tired, you just want to lay on the ground when you get there, but there's so much to do, like set up tents and food and take care of your wet gear, and but I felt like we were super strong by that point of the trip. Like, it was hard, but I could have gone another week or two. It was starting to morph into something different. It was really cool.
I agree that on a trip like this, there's never just one highlight. The bears that Kadrian was talking about was one for me. We probably sat and watched them for about 2 hours. And then one afternoon, we just got pounded by a thunderstorm. But as soon as we hit the shore, everyone was just working to get the tarps up. And of course, as soon as the tarps were up, the rain stopped. So I guess they did their job. One night, I had to get up, and there was this bright, bright orange full moon in the sky with just some faint northern lights around it. Sometimes having to pee in the middle of the night is a good thing. And I was looking through my journal earlier today just as a refresher, and I came across this one morning that I was just heading out for just a little bit of a walk with my camera, and one person in the group, and I won't mention any names, was telling a story about when he was circumcised when he was 12. So, highlights come from all sorts of places.
I don't know how to segue to the next question. Yeah, maybe I'll just, I'll nip it in the bud and we'll get to the next question. I'm curious because you guys are mentioning so many of these emotions and so many of these stories, and this trip was kind of co-organized with CPAWS and YFNED and the First Nation of Na-Cho and I'm kind of curious what makes this kind of trip different from other trips that you've gone on, or that other times that you're out, in the bush or camping, because it feels like this was a little bit of a different trip. It got youth out onto the land, but there was also, water sampling being done. There were some other aspects of this trip. So I was wondering if you guys could share a little bit about what made this different from other times you've been out.
I think the forest fires was like kind of scary. Also, just like the fly in, fly out component. It was just, doing trips in general is stressful, but like having all of Mayo get evacuated the day that we're leaving was, a lot.
Yeah, there was the trip ahead of us on the Wind River was another youth trip. They were a group from Ontario, but they actually had to get evacuated. So I was in constant communication with folks at NND Lands and with Lucien's dad, who works for Wildland Fire in Mayo. And at one point, we weren't actually sure if it was going to be safe for us to keep going. So we had landed at McCluskey. We had portaged over to the creek, lined down the creek, and we were on the Wind River. But we actually had to take our time, which we had planned into the trip itinerary, so that was no big deal. But as I think Joel and I were the only ones that had done the river before, and it was kind of sad because I knew what was there, but no one could see it, and I was just so sad that at the beginning that the other folks didn't know what was around us because it was all smoke. But it was pretty special when that cleared, and it did. You saw that in the film. We got hit by some pretty intense thunderstorms and had a big weather shift, and then we were able to proceed safely down the rest of the river, paddling past the burns. So, but this, this trip itself, you seeing these, our groups coming together, not the First Nation of Na-Cho Nyäk, Yukon First Nation Education Directorate, CPAWS Yukon. This is a really amazing way to come together. The support that the wellness team brings and the skills that we all bring together, and the fact that we are able to have counselors on the trip. I think I'm just really impressed at how these trips run. We also were taking water samples as we went down the Wind River. Na-Cho Nyäk is doing a lot of research around the impacts of permafrost and water quality and other pieces. And so, and then we were also able to collect information for, about the cultural sites along the way as well. So I think, and then in addition, Beth was filming. So there was a lot going on, and I think that's, I'm really glad we were able to do it that way, but it requires a lot of support. So we were a pretty big crew going down. And then the other thing that is quite different, I find, as a non-First Nation with these trips, is it's not just us. When we left the community of Mayo, we had, there's a huge send-off for us. People sent us with a stack of letters for the youth to read from the community along the way. And when we got back, there was an even bigger feast and celebration. So this is not just about the people on this trip, it's the whole community and beyond. So I think that's definitely, I kind of missed in my intro, my why. And my why isn't just simply because I work at CPAWS. There's a much deeper why. And number one for me is the youth. I've been able to be involved in one way or another, not necessarily on the trip, but in having youth trips happen. And I've seen the impacts. And so I feel very strongly about supporting that, and also just what it means for the community and how that spreads is really important to me. And then just for myself, it's the land teaches you so much, and so every time I'm able to travel there, I learn a great deal about myself and about being in the world. So.
For me, this trip differed in that, like I mentioned before, I come from a guiding background. I've done lots of guiding trips, lots of expeditions, and I was getting burnt out, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna change a career, I'm gonna stop guiding, I need something a bit easier. Wound up in film, ended up on the Wind River trip, and I think it's safe to say I made a really big mistake, and guiding is so much easier than film. But that being said, it was really good. It was really rewarding. I would usually get out of my tent and I would throw up the drone before I even went to the bathroom. It'd be like the last thing I did before going to sleep would be like making sure all my batteries were charging. And it was a very different trip from guiding.
For me, this being the third trip, it was different from the first two. There was time set aside so that we can rest at each camp spot. We kind of, I think every other campsite we stayed 2 nights instead of 1. And there's intense moments on past trips where, you know, you got to make it to the end before we run out of food. And no matter what kind of weather's brought our way, sometimes my fingers were swollen, and it's hard to hold on to the paddle when that happens. But this trip was set out in like a perfect timeline that we were able to avoid the forest fires, and we had time to hike the mountains nearby and see some cool waterfalls, washed our hair in the waterfalls. But I think for this trip there was a opportunity for me to practice ceremony. I was it's at the start of the trip, you know, and a big portion of the Yukon and Northwest Territories in Alaska, they were all fighting forest fires. And I knew that was what we were at the risk of having to face. Another group that had just got back to Mayo from the wind, they had to wear COVID masks because it was so hard to breathe. So I was prepared for the worst. But at the start, we found those the Stone Axe stumps and watched the grizzly bears. And I said a little prayer, and I asked ancestors and Creator to watch over us, to ensure that we have a safe journey home. And it got smokier, and I was joking with Lucienne about how the mountains behind the smoke, they look like big muffins, and that kind of stuck throughout the whole trip. And it was pretty cool to see how ominous the mountains looked behind all the smoke. And where was I going? So it got smoky, and then we were hit with this big lightning storm that shook the ground, and it was kind of scary. Our canoes were filled with water halfway, and then the next day after that, that night it kind of cleared up, but the next day it got even smokier, so we weren't sure what was going on. Jody had pretty good contact back in Mayo with the forest fires. wildland fire, but they said that we were all good to go, so we kept going on. And then the next site, we were at the last point where we could be evacuated from a nearby lake called Angel Lake. And that was when all the fires got put out around us and downstream from us. So that rain helped us continue on. And I'm very grateful for the way that prayers can be answered in that way, and just the connection to, the environment that we have, or that I have. And it was special because there was time set aside for me to do ceremony in that way, and so we had time to slow down. And I had recently lost my sister before this trip, and she was a big advocate in when the Protect the Peel campaign was going on in Mayo. And so I brought a little piece of artwork that she made on birch bark, and I brought it with me the whole trip. And then I put it somewhere on the riverbank, and said a prayer, did a smudge, and to allow that piece of her to go back into the environment where my ancestors, what they protected. And I don't know, there's just so many ways, and the ways that, we all have these roles that we play in canoe trips, and all our goofiness comes out in different ways. And to connect, there's two youth that weren't able to make it, Chase Moses McLaren and Dominique. They were at the time, 15-year-olds on this trip, and it's a huge commitment to be able to join something like this. And there were other youth that they signed up, but they weren't sure and backed out last minute. And to be able to bond with my younger cousin and other community members in this way, and have this this life experience that only we share together. It's like family. I was saying when we first got back here, it's so good to be reconnected, and I'm so glad that everyone came out to support. And we're all here for the same reason, for the environment and for our love for the Yukon. Yeah, see.
A couple of you mentioned this, you learn so much from these trips, or that you adapt, I think someone said as well. I was wondering, what's one thing that you learned on the trip? Is there a specific thing that you can point to, or a couple where you were just like, oh, I didn't know that before. That's cool, or that's scary, or amazing, or yeah.
I learned from Ashwin that you're born with all the hair you will have your entire life. It's all just tucked inside your skull. And, it just grows out and makes more room in your skull. So as you get older, you get smarter because your brain can grow into that space. And if you're bald, it's just because you didn't have as much hair in there and you've just run out. So I never knew that.
I missed that. That is amazing.
Okay, cool. Maybe that's a story for another day, I guess.
I can say something I learned.
Oh, dude, yeah, go for it.
I feel like surely that can't be the only thing learned on a trip. I did not grow up paddling. I had been on some rivers, but I didn't grow up in this world. I had a lot of exposure to bush life and stuff like that with my family, but never paddling on a river like this. So this trip was huge, and we did the Mayo to Moosehide on the Stewart, but I was a bit more of an ornament on that trip because I was learning so much. It's a lot to learn. Really, it's the questions like, what didn't we learn, But for me, it was a really positive challenge because I think all of us had moments, but I had a lot of moments of peaks and valleys. Like there's hard parts of the days, there's really challenging parts of the river physically. You're cold, you're hungry, like it's just so taxing. And then there's just these most amazing, most memorable, beautiful moments. Like it really was a trip of a lifetime. And so these are these big highs and lows that happen every day. And then we're also trying to help lead and support the youth while they're having peaks and valleys. And I just learned the land is such a valuable place to do that. And watch the land kind of take care of that. That gives them the space, it gives them all the stuff they need to learn. So yeah, it was kind of cool. Like I went through my own journey, but I got to watch them figure it out too, each day.
Yeah, on this trip, I was one of the lead guides, and so that was a really amazing experience for me. It was my second time on the river, and my first time on the wind, I was a support person on a trip with Peter Mather, Matthew Lien, Stephanie Ryan, and Brendan Preston, and so it was really incredible it gave me a real perspective of. Peter was the lead guide on our trip in 2012, which was over 10 years prior. And he had done such an amazing job leading that trip. That's the trip where he took that iconic photo of the Peel, which was the photo for Protect the Peel for so long. And so I was feeling very grateful for being able to learn and be mentored, and then having the opportunity to guide a group myself down the wind and utilize a lot of the knowledge that I gained in 2012. And I also felt that the land was there for me, and I also learned a bit more about how to pray, which has been something, it's been a bit of a conflict for me in my life, but I was able to go to the river every day, every morning, and ask for strength to be able to show up for everybody in a good way. And I feel like it helped me a lot. And I know we probably have to let folks get a break soon, but I have something else I want to share that's connected to the fact that I was on the river in 2012, and at that time, on that trip with Peter and the rest of the crew, we were getting photos and sounds and music and art and film in order to share again, and to bring people together to protect the Peel. And at that time, it was a really really intense time, because we were all fighting for both the Peel itself, but also for the plan, for the regional plan that everybody had worked for, and was being swept aside, and was under real threat at that time. And it hasn't really been directly mentioned yet this evening, but at our info table, which I hope that folks will check out, we actually have information, because the Peel plan is under threat again, which is really disappointing, because that plan belongs to everyone and has been fought for in court for many years. And I won't go into big detail, because we have that information at the table, but there's actually a court case in 2 weeks on November 27th here in Whitehorse. Yukon government is taking ESAB to court, and so that's November 27th at noon. We're encouraging people to head to the courthouse, because there is no reason that this issue should be in court. It is an unnecessary action by Yukon government that they took, rather than actually going and consulting with the First Nation of Na-Cho, Nyäk, and Trondheim. So it's very disappointing for me to be saying that after all this time and after all that work, but I'm also very hopeful and inspired because I've seen what can happen when we come together. And so I feel like that is something that we can easily do again.
Can I share something I learned from this trip that I did not go on? I came to help you guys unload when you landed back in Mayo, and that was my first time driving with a trailer. So thanks for teaching me how to back up, Jonah and Ashwin, when we had to dump the canoes back. So thanks for that. Okay, I have one more question that I have prepped, and then I don't know if anyone else has other things to share. But I'm just curious. There's some people in the audience. There's some youth in the audience. There are some people who may know some youth in the audience, and I was curious if you guys wanted to share. It's not always easy to convince youth to come out. So I was wondering if you wanted to share, how to get more youth out, why these kinds of trips are important, and what would you say to a youth who might not have been on a trip like this before?
Well, the best way to go on a canoe trip with youth is to not leave first thing in the morning, because then they might sleep in and miss it. So you got to leave in the evening beforehand. That's the best way. Yeah, I know. It's
The best way to get a youth to go on a trip like this, Ashwin and Jonah. They're pretty youthful. I feel like I have more to say, but it's everywhere. It's all scrambled around in my head. Help me talk here.
Okay, it was so cool. Okay, so we didn't know Shalea, and we wanted to do some river trips, and so we organized one on the Pelly, and on that trip, that's where we met Shalea when she got dropped off, and there was another participant.
Off?
Well, yeah, at the boats. Was that how that worked? Maybe?
Huh?
I don't know. Anyways.
Pharaoh?
Yes, the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and also another youth was going to come, and then as the rides had left, and as we were getting ready to go off, the other youth was like, I don't want to go anymore.
I want to go
so
to the carnival.
So we had to call because she was worried about the carnival, but we did get back in time for the carnival.
We made it to the carnival.
We did. And then I don't know where I'm going with this.
I don't know either.
Oh wait, no, it was so cool. Okay, so anyways, Shalea came on that trip, and then Shalea came on the Wind River trip, and then she went back to Carmax and was like, I want to go on another trip. And so with Ashwin's support, they did another trip in the fall with more kids.
With more kids.
Yes, so you know what's up.
With my friends. I got them to come on the canoe trip. I'm like, please come on this canoe trip. And some of my friends were like, I'm scared. I'm like, don't be scared. You just gotta do it. Yeah. If it feels right, do it. Anyway, that's what Ashwin says. But I don't know. I don't think you should listen to Ashwin. He's a bit crazy up there. Anyway, sorry, Ashwin. But yeah, I got my friends to come on the canoe trip, even though they were scared. I'm like, well, I'm going. These people are going. I think you should go too. And they're like, what if we tip? What if we tip? Oh, we're gonna tip over. And I'm like, don't scraggle around on the boat then. Like, we'll be fine. Just listen. And be confident. Be confident in what you're doing. Don't be like, ah, you know? I know, I don't know, but okay, I'm done here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone fill the silence, please.
Okay. Thank you all. Does anyone else have like a memory they want to share, something I didn't get to, anything that stands out as these memories have been you've been flashing back into those moments that you had? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, with the having youth and the importance of having them on canoe trips, it builds so much empowerment within themselves. You learn so much, and you know, to build those life skills if they're ever stuck in the wilderness, you know, in the remote wilderness somehow. They have the skills to be able to catch that fish and, you know, to how to build a fire to be able to cook it on. And these are important skills, even though they're pretty little. They, you know, you could survive. And yeah, one thing I was just reminded of is, so Dom and Chase, the whole trip, we kind of kept them separated just because they would goof around and distract each other, and they really wanted to canoe together. They were, every single morning, they were like, who do you want to canoe with? With Dom. But at that point of the river, it wasn't quite safe. So once we journeyed on, by the end, when we were at the Peel Canyon, we left camp and they canoed together, and they canoed through, I think it was, I'm not sure if it was the first set of rapids, but a little wave of rapids they made it through, and they were behind us. So we were waiting, and we could just hear them like holding the paddle up and like hooting and hollering and just being, you know, pumped that they achieved something. And yeah, that is what I take away from these trips. And that same passion and like, I don't know the words, but just the feeling you get inside, seeing the youth come back when we flew back to Mayo at the base, the float plane base. They were like meeting their families, and just this endless smile on their face that you couldn't wipe off of them. And you know, not always expressing that outwards, but you could see it. You could see it in how proud they were that they had this thing that they could show their family, this accomplishment. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Last call. Any final memories, thoughts? Okay. Thank you guys for joining. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Wait, okay, here we go.
I knew there was one.
We should totally do another trip.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Adil mentioned the three rivers. This is maybe logistically a little bit over the top, but I would like to, since the Stewart Watershed is still in need of a regional plan, I think we should do a three rivers journey in the Stewart Watershed.
Sweet.
Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be awesome.
Please support us.
Yo, how can you support you in getting
How can you support? Well,
yeah.
You can participate in the silent auction. We also need to uphold the land planning in general. So if land planning means that when there's actually a signed plan, you just take people to court when you don't like it, well, that's not okay. So please come out to the rally on the 27th because this is a really important issue that it belongs to all of us. But in terms of getting us, helping us get a Three Rivers journey in the Stewart Watershed, you can participate in the silent auction. We also will need a lot of donations in terms of like time of expert, like logistical things, shuttles, equipment, guides. We rely on a lot of the Yukon community to pull these things off. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say like one thing that I really like is that there is also an emphasis on like bringing some of that back in the form of videos or stories. And I hope that we can like also be a platform for you guys if you go off on more trips and you get to share some of that, because it's, I don't know, I've never been in the Stewart River. Well, I've been on the Stewart River, but I haven't seen as much as so many other people. And I think it's a really cool way to like, I mean, the film's name was Connections, but it's a really good way to connect. And like, I don't know, I think back to what Chief Hope said, and take care of the land and water and it'll take care of you. So yeah, thank you all for joining us on this panel and sharing more stories. Okay, so we're gonna take a quick little intermission. You guys can stretch your legs, get a snack. Jyoti mentioned some of the info tables. We have info tables about CPAWS Yukon and YFNED. You can learn how to take action and support us. I think the intermission is 25 minutes, but you'll hear me wrangle you guys back in about 25 minutes. And then when you get back, I'm really excited. We've got some musical guests for you, so come back, please. Thank you all so much. And thank you to the trip participants for coming and sharing more stories.
You. The Yukon climate action. Oh, never mind. You make me mad. Okay, Judy, stop fixing your shirt. Oh, that's done.
All right, welcome back, everyone, or most of everyone. If there are people still in the hall, I encourage you to, in the lobby, I encourage you to come back. I hope you had a chance to learn a little bit more about CPAWS and YFNED and what we're up to and ways that you guys can get involved. Now, there's another aspect of these trips that I think I'd really like to, highlight, and that we're going to highlight this evening, and it's art, and specifically music. Our first musical guests this evening are Keitha, Clarke, and Graeme Poile, and they're here to perform some music, emphasizing the importance of natural spaces for artists in the Yukon and how those spaces impact the work that they do. Proceeds from Keitha's previous album, The Watersheds, went to CPAWS Yukon to support our work to protect the Beaver River watershed. And along with Graeme, their album Now Is a Far Country is going to support the community outreach van in Whitehorse. So we're so grateful for Keitha and Graeme to join us and your support for organizations. And it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Keitha and Graeme.
Thank you very much. That tune was called Where You Begin Like Rivers. And Taineti is a lot about all the amazing things that begin with rivers in our community and territory. And we wanted to honor that by starting our set with that piece. The next tune we're going to play is one that is off the Watershed album that was recorded in 2020. And as Adele mentioned in the big intro, it was a fundraiser to raise awareness for the Beaver River watershed and the work that CPAWS was doing to advocate for preventing mining road development in that beautiful area in the heart of the Yukon. And all the tunes on the album, except one, were really composed to explore how art and landscape intersect and how the landscape really inspires us as artists in the Yukon. It's kind of inevitable when you live up here that the landscape has a very profound impact. And for me personally, I'm always very grateful to look out of my back porch and see the beautiful nature that surrounds us. And so this next tune is from the Watershed album, and it's called Back Porch. One of my favorite things when my kids were little, I have my oldest son with me today, was dropping them off at Whitehorse Elementary, and we lived downtown in the wintertime, and it was cold, and you'd see the ice fog as you were walking towards the river. And I would go walk along the river, and just the silence and the crispness, just like Shalea was saying, that is so amazing up here. And this next song is called Homage to Blue, and it's kind of that capturing that feeling of the ice fog in the morning. And there's that kind of sense of peace that I would feel after the mad rush of kind of getting your kids ready to go to school and out the door, and you have this beautiful walk. you. We're just going to play one more tune for you, and then I'm really excited to hear the drummers that are back there. Another cool kind of intersection with nature and music and art that happens is the Created in the Canyon project. And Graeme and I did that a few years ago with visual artist Nicole Bauberger. And so this is a project where they bring the Yukon Conservation Society organizes it, and they bring a whole bunch of different artists down to Miles Canyon. And so we had this spot right across the bridge. And so the way it would work is people would come across the bridge, we would ask them for a word that represented what the canyon and that area meant to them, and they would go off on their walk. And then either Nicole would create a visual piece inspired by their word, or I would create a musical piece. And then we would respond to each other's work. So it was kind of like multiple levels of response to nature and what people were interpreting around them as part of their experience. And so, for example, we had someone say swirling. And so then Nicole did this kind of swirling art piece. And then I wrote a tune that was kind of inspired, like the melody was inspired by her spirals. And then she sewed in these, she stitched on the paper. And then I like actually wrote out the piece of music on the staff following her stitching. Like it was just very cool to see how, and we're all doing that out at the canyon. And then Graeme came the next day and we arranged the tunes. And one of the tunes that we did was called The Gurgling of the Water, and it was given us to us, that term, by Win Kringle. And we really like Win, so sometimes we just call this tune Win's tune. And we'll play it to end the set. So thank you very much for having us. It's really been an honor to be part of this event. And we're really looking forward to hearing the drummers after this. This is Win's tune.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Let's hear it one more time for Keitha, Clarke, and Graeme Poile. Next up, we have Remmi Elin, and while they're setting up, I just want to share with you my first experience with Remmi Elin. I did a river trip on the Beaver River Watershed in 2020, and on the last day before we were paddling into Mayo, and on the last day, I was pretty tired. My shoulder really hurt, my arms were pretty fatigued, and every time we turned a corner, I thought that was going to be the last corner, and then it wasn't, and there was another corner. I don't know if you've ever been on a river trip, but I feel like that's kind of a universal experience of like, you feel like you're close, but there's like always one more corner. But eventually I heard kind of in the faint distance, you could hear just like a boom. And at first I thought it was like a beaver or something fell in the water. But eventually it's like, we noticed it was like repeating. It was like boom, boom, boom. And so kind of the energy amongst all of our paddlers kind of perked up, and everyone was like, oh, we're close to home. And it was really exciting, and I have to say the fatigue disappeared right away. You just kind of followed the drum beats, you followed that rhythm, and you were so close that the adrenaline and the energy just took over. So ever since then, every time I've helped support one of these river trips, or been on one, Remmi Elin has been either there to send us off on our journey or welcome us home each time. And we're so grateful that they could join us here this evening. Remmi Elin means Dancing Northern Lights in Northern Shoshone, and they got started about 6 years ago after a drum making workshop, and they were inspired and mentored by Dennis and Jenny of Denizagi along their journey. They wanted to get together, learn their language through singing and drumming, and some of the songs were shared with them that they sing according to protocol, and others they've created with language speakers. So I'm really excited to welcome you, or I'm really excited to present to all of you Remmi Elin.
Zien Sothan, Inya Dohoti. Welcome to the soulful rhythms of Remmi Elin, meaning Dancing Northern Lights in Northern Shoshone. Over the years, Dennis and Jenny have been more than mentors. They have been our steadfast supporters, enriching our journey with their wisdom and creativity. They have generously helped us craft our own songs and graciously permitted us to perform some of the beautiful compositions. We honor and deeply appreciate their encouragement and their knowledge they imparted, which has been instrumental in shaping the spirit of Remmi Elin. Together we drum not for the rhythm, but to celebrate the vibrant culture, tapestry of our heritage, connecting us to our roots and to one another. Thank you for joining us as we share the heartbeats of our journey, carried by the Northern Lights dance.
Inti Irene Johnny Uji. The next song is a prayer song. The first song we will share tonight is our Northern Shoshone prayer song. This song holds a special place in our hearts, as it was created several years ago in a collaboration with many of our elders, some of whom have since passed on. Their wisdom and guidance were instrumental in shaping this song, and their legacy lives on through it. Our elders emphasized the importance of integrating ceremony into everyday life, whether it be on the land, at the start of a meeting, or within our families. This prayer song is a testament of their teachings, a way to honor and carry forward their vision of connecting with sacred in all that we do. We sing it tonight in remembrance of them as a reminder of the deep spiritual connection we share through our drumming. It's a prayer song, so please remove your hats.
Thank you. Iji Joella Uji. The next song we share is a water song gifted to us with the blessing to sing for the healing and vitality of all water. Water is life, essential to our survival and deeply intertwined with our cultures, traditions, and communities. Watersheds are like the matriarchy. In the north, we have strong matriarchs as well as strong, intact watersheds. The rivers within a watershed are like the women, the grandmothers, mothers, aunties, and sisters. Each contributes a gift, such as knowledge, kindness, humor, and strength. And when one member of the matriarchy is lost or hurt, the entire family suffers. This is also true of the watershed. Rivers flow into rivers, connecting women at the headwaters to those along the river, all the way to the mouth and into the ocean. When our First Nation community defended the Peel Watershed at the Supreme Court of Canada, we felt the strength and solidarity of Indigenous communities across the nation. We ask for your continued prayers for the healing of our water, the resilience of our fish and animals, and the well-being of our land. May this song bring unity and blessing to all who depend on these sacred elements. As we sing this song, we honor the sacredness of water and our shared responsibility to cherish and protect it. May it remind us of our deep connection to Mother Earth and inspire us to safeguard the health and vitality of our waters for generations to come.
I am one with the mother. can't do like Bill there. So the next water song is Tushan, water song. Welcome to our sharing of the Cherokee Nation's water song. This song is a gift to all nations, offered to honor and protect the precious water that sustains all life. It was shared with the purpose of raising awareness about the importance of clean water for every community and to show solidarity with the water protectors who work tirelessly and defend this vital resource. Water is life. It is vital for our survival. Our culture, traditions, and way of life are deeply intertwined with the health of our waters and the integrity of our watersheds. We will sing this song in 4 rounds, each one representing one of the 4 nations, North, East, South, and West. This approach symbolizes the unity of all people and the interconnectedness of all life, bound together by the sacredness of water. The song begins softly, like a gentle creek, then grows in strength as the water moves from creek bed to river and onward to the ocean. As we join in song, let us also join in purpose to honor and protect the life-giving waters that connect and sustain us all.
We sing this next song to honor the voices of women who have been silenced for far too long and to take a powerful stand for justice. Today we raise awareness for missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirited people. Though the true count of missing and murdered individuals is unknown due to underreporting, it is believed that more than 4,000 lives have been lost. This song, created by Lil'wat Nation elder Martina Pierre, has become a symbol of healing and strength. It echoes across the nation as a call to confront the imbalance of power and to recognize the urgent need for justice and protection for all. As we sing, we send prayers to the families, relatives, and communities grieving for their loved ones. May this song serve as a reminder of the resilience of those left behind and as a beacon of hope for the future, where every voice is heard, valued, and respected. We dedicate this song to Norma Germain, a beloved member of Remmi Elin, who has passed away. Norma fought many battles with a big smile, and if you knew her, a basket full of snacks. Her spirit lives on through our love and memories.
The next song is called The Power of Women. We are deeply honored to share a song that we had the privilege of creating with the incredible songwriter Nyäk. This song pays tribute to the remarkable women who made an immense sacrifice during the land claims process. While the men were in boardrooms negotiating to secure a better future for our children, it was the women who held the strength of our communities together, caring for families and supporting the well-being of everyone. Today, as then, women continue to be the backbone of our communities, tirelessly working to create a brighter future for the next generation. We raise our hands in respect and gratitude to all women, those who sacrifice so much, those who face profound losses, and yet find the strength to carry on. This song is dedicated to their unwavering resilience and their boundless contributions to the fabric of our lives.
Hey!
The last song that we're gonna sing tonight is called Grandma's Akela song. We have been incredibly fortunate over the years to be guided by the teachings of Dennis and Jenny, whom we call Janice. Their mentorship and inspiration has been a constant source of encouragement, pushing us to carry on and grow in our drumming journey. This is one of our favorite songs I always sing of theirs, a Denny drum song gifted to us. With their blessings, we added our own flair to this beautiful piece, which was created to honor the ocean people. As we near the close of our portion of the evening, we want to extend heartfelt thanks to everyone who has supported us along the way. We sing for those who can't, for those who won't, and in memory of our two late elders, Alice Bike and Julie Olson, whose joy and laughter resonated on in every beat of the drum. This song is dedicated to their spirit and to all who kept the rhythm of our culture alive. Na-Cho.
Yeah.
everybody. Thank you so much. That concludes our evening. I want to thank you all for staying with us on a Thursday evening.